First of all, kia ora, everybody. So lovely to see those of you online, and especially lovely to see those of you with your videos on. Do pop them on if you haven't. As I said, we do like to see faces. It's how we like to do things here, make it a little bit more interactive. Very happy to kick off our webinar series for this year for International Women's Day. And I'm going to hand over to Lisa any moment, but I just wanted to say hello and nice to see you all. I think I know everyone on this call, but for those of you I haven't met in person, I'm Nicky Tilsley, and I'm the head of member engagement here at BEIA. And yeah, looking forward to working with you again for another year. Can you believe it's March already? I know I can't. We don't seem to have we sort of started with a hiss and a roar, and it's certainly not stopping. So look, without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Lisa, and then she will hand on to the lovely Nicky Styris, who'll be sharing her tips and tricks with us today. So thank you, Lisa.
Thanks, Nicky, and kia ora, everyone. Really great to see you, and thanks so much for joining us today as we celebrate another International Women's Day or weekend. Not quite sure how we position it, but I think the thing is that every time we go through the year and International Women's Day appears, it gives us a moment to pause, to just really celebrate where we've come from and to reflect on that journey. And this year's theme is Give to Gain, which really does encourage generosity and collaboration. It's an amazing theme, and it's a theme that I think really resonates well with the sector. You know, New Zealand's got its own place in history when it comes to the women's movement, you know, being the first country in the world to vote. And we're also one of a very elite cluster of countries in the world where we've had multiple women leaders. There's actually more countries, as I'm sure you would know, that have never had a woman at the head of their country. We've had three. And one can't help but wonder what would happen if there were more women in charge. There's a thought. But in our sector, there's a lot of women in charge. And, there's a lot of women who are leading teams, organisations, and really shaping the sector and how it continues to evolve. And I think, we would also agree that we don't do this in isolation. We do this with our colleagues, who come from all different walks of life. So this is not just about us, it's also about the support structure we have around us. But every now and again, we just need to give ourselves a little bit of permission, don't we? To do things differently, just to take a breath, admit that not every day is wonderful and fantastic, and be the Pollyannas of the world. And then sometimes it's just about really seeking balance. And sometimes success isn't always about doing things more. It's just about doing things differently and sustainably. And that's why we're thrilled to have Nicky join us today. Nicky, we know really, really well. She, if you're at conference last year, she facilitated an incredible session on menopause. And it really was amazing. And thank you so much for that, Nicky. But Nicky really understands this whole thing around balance really well. She's worked in high performance, she's worked in leadership, she's been working in television. She knows that it's really important, that finding balance and giving permission is so hugely important. So, Nicky, thank you. And everyone, please join me in welcoming the lovely, the wonderful Nicky Styris. Over to you, Nicky.
Wow, thanks, Lisa. It's a glowing endorsement, and thank you, Nicky, as well, and BEIA for letting me come here and host this webinar to celebrate International Women's Day. It really is a privilege, and I'm not going to lie, I've done a lot of live TV, but I feel quite nervous about this. And if there are any men that do decide to join us, we all obviously celebrate you too. And thanks to you guys that have come to have a listen. I hope that you do take something that's valuable from it. As Lisa said, the theme this year is Give to Gain. And we know that when we give, we definitely gain. And it's been really appropriate for me because in the last 18 months, BEIA has given to me. I became a member about 18 months ago when I decided to pivot my career and focus on my MC and keynote speaker type portfolio. And so I approached BEIA, and they have been, extremely supportive, and they've given me opportunities and exposure to the business events community. And they've really helped me sort of increase my MC profile. So I am eternally grateful for those opportunities. So today I want to give back, and I think I've learned a few things over my sort of life and career. I'm 58. In fact, I'm 59 in April. So I feel like I'm sort of at a stage of my life now where I'm changing my focus a little bit, and I'm focusing more on what I'm passionate about rather than sort of climbing the corporate ladder or, being the best career person that I can be. And I think I probably should tell you straight up that one of those passions is health and wellness. It's been something I've been genuinely passionate about since I was a little girl, and I actually love helping people. I have a lot of friends who will often say to me, "Oh, can you give me an exercise that will help me with this, or can I eat this, and what's this going to do to my body, and how can you motivate me today?" And I actually truly believe that the world has a lifestyle disease crisis at the moment, with obesity, sugar, processed foods. We don't move as much as we used to in the past. And I think metabolic diseases and increased rates of cancer are through the roof. And my passion, and this is what I'm doing going forward, is to educate as many people that actually want to know about it. And I am happy to help them choose what they're eating, their principles of exercise, and particularly for me as we age, because I know there's will be some young people out there that this isn't so relevant to, but those of us who are in their more mature years will know that things change, and it's really good to not be surprised by those changes and know how to deal with them. So I've been building an online presence around that. It's called Fit Over 50, but it certainly is appropriate to all age groups. So if you're interested, you can always go and check it out. It's funny because a few people say to me if I'm out and about or up at the gym, "Oh, you look really great. You must have great genes." And I'm like, well, maybe I do, but actually, no, just a whole lot of hard work. And I think all of you will probably realize that nothing in this world comes without hard work. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later, about the small things that we can do to make a big lifetime difference. But I'm just going to start and just give you a little bit of background on who I am. And I think that just sort of paints a better picture. I'm a mum. I have two daughters, Hannah and Emerson, and now I'm a grandmum. Very proud I am too. Mila and Finn. Oh my God, that was life-changing. They are adorable. About 2 years ago, well, up until about 2 years ago, I had sort of built a successful career as a TV journalist and news presenter. I presented on the news as a sports reporter on News Hub and the Breakfast AM show, and I loved it. I'm not going to lie. Live TV is an incredible buzz, and I loved telling people stories, and I worked really, really hard to get to that point. So when News Hub shut down, it was a massive curveball, I'm not going to lie, and I, along with 350 other people, was made redundant. And sometimes when change is forced upon you, it's scary. But the good thing about it was that it makes you stop and reassess where you're at, and is this where I want to be going forward? Do I now want to just go and freelance for the channels, which would have been probably the easy option, or do I want to change my focus and have a bit more flexibility in my later years? So I decided at 57 at that stage that it was time to make a good change. And so I thought, right, I'm going to increase my MC portfolio. I'd always dabbled in it, but never done it sort of seriously. And I'm going to increase my presence in this sort of health and wellness space. So I'm not going to lie, change has actually been really hard. I feel like some of you might have had the pleasure of me knocking on your doors, trying to promote myself as an MC. And then with the health space, I basically went to the Breeze. They do a House of Wellness segment every Sunday morning. And almost begged them and said, let me go on, let me be a guest contributor and talk to you about, sort of, the later demographic and, how to live a healthy life going forward in your more mature years. And they finally agreed to it. And so I've been doing that once a month every Sunday and love it. And I just recently wrote an article actually for Stuff's House of Wellness magazine on Fit Over 50. So yeah, it is getting there. But I think the one thing that has helped me through everything is my life balance. And I guess that's sort of what we're talking about today, and how we can gain balance, protect our energy, and I guess thrive in our later years or our early years, whatever the case may be for all of us. And I think to really understand that, I'm going to take you through a few building blocks of my own life that's shaped me. Now, you will all have your own building blocks, and it's really important that we appreciate that those building blocks are there for a reason. And I think that's one of the big things that worries me about AI, is that I hope AI doesn't take away a lot of those building blocks for people, because it's what shapes you. And as you get older, you realize that all of those things that you did as you grew, they're all part of who you are now and the skill base that you have. And so, I would encourage you, if you want to, I don't know, ask any questions or, I don't know, query me on anything, please do, because I don't really want this to be all about me. So first of all, I think the big thing that happened in my really early years was that movement built my mind. I was a trampolinist, and which I love seeing in the Olympics now, because it wasn't when I was around, but I made it to the New Zealand level. And I think the one thing that sport and trampolining taught me was how to fail and how to get back up and deal with adversity, deal with losing, dealing with injuries, dealing with nerves, to perform. And so it really did set me off in a good place. And I don't know if any of you've got kids. If you do, I really, really encourage sport, because I think it's like a little micro environment that teaches so many life skills that, you may not get when you're younger in other areas. And I think also the other thing was my dad, bless his soul, I have to do this without bursting into tears. He started Round the Bays, which, by the way, is the Sunday, in 1973 with the then Mayor Colin Kay. And Dad loved running. And the reason he started running was because he had mental health issues. And he found his happy place. So he started the fun run, and all through my life, every March, we would go down there, and Dad would stand there with the big, PA system, encouraging everybody. And so on this, he actually died late last year. We'll get through that a little bit. And so this Sunday, my family and I are going to run it for him. I promised myself I wouldn't do that, but anyway. But yeah, so that really built my early years. And then as I got older and I decided what I was going to do, I loved sport. So I went down to university, and I did a physical education degree and an arts degree. And I decided that I wanted to communicate with people, and I loved helping people. So I became a teacher, and I taught phys ed and social studies and history. And I loved it, and it blooming demanding, I'm not going to lie. Teaching is not an easy profession. I don't know if any of you have ever done it, but yeah, I have the utmost respect for teachers. But what it did teach me, that part of my life, was how to communicate under pressure, how to read a room, how to, I guess just communicate in a really warm and relatable way. And what I didn't realize at that stage was that was sort of the hidden preparation for the broadcasting career that was going to come after that. And I guess we don't know these things, do we? We just move along, and and I one day I was in the careers room with the kids. I was at Auckland Girls Grammar School, and they were all looking at what they were going to become. And I thought, I love my teaching, but I had a arts degree in history, and I like to write. And I thought, oh gosh, journalism would be great. And I loved cameras. And I thought, maybe I should go back and do journalism. And so I didn't do it at that point. But in the meantime, I had a long-term partner and unexpectedly fell pregnant at the age of 25, which was another little curveball. A beautiful blessing, I say now. And I had just started my career, so it was like, oh my gosh, now I'm going to have to, juggle motherhood and my career. And Hannah was born at when I was 26. She's now 32. And also the person that I was with, unfortunately, the relationship didn't last. So I was facing solo motherhood and trying to create a career, and that was challenging. So I guess that was the stage of my life that sort of started to really build my resilience. And I'm sure you've all been through something that has built your resilience. And, it's really important to learn how to be resilient and to get back up and carry on and not let things knock you over. So being a sucker for punishment, at about the age of 30, I decided after talking to the kids that I'm going to change my career, and I went back to school. And I decided to go to AUT and do a graduate diploma in journalism with a view of reading the news, being a sports presenter. And a lot of people were like, oh my God, you're nuts. Why are you doing this? I said, because I want to. I thought it'll be fun. And I'm sure a few of you probably know Paddy Gower. He's a bit of a force to be reckoned with in our industry. He was in the same course as me, and he's a very good friend of mine now. And we often talk about it, and he said, oh, I used to think you were nuts going back. You were 30 years old, and he was 21, I think, at the time. Why are you doing it? And he said, now I see why you did it. And I said, oh, well, thank you, Paddy. From you, that's quite the compliment. So I did that for a year, and I thought, right, I've got to get on TV. So I went into TVNZ and I said, I want to write the weather for Mike Hosking and Kate. They were on the breakfast show at the time. And they said, well, that's at 5 o'clock in the morning. I said, I don't care when it is. I want to do it. And so they let me. And I just put my ear to the ground and tried to work out how I was going to get into TV at that stage. And I just made sure I aligned with the right people there, and just could have said to them, as soon as there's an opening, I want to come work here. And it was year 2000, the Olympics in Sydney. And so I went up to the sports producer and I said, can I come and work for nothing? And he said, are you sure that's what you want to do? And I said, yeah, I do. And so they started letting me write stories. I was dreadful, I'm not going to lie, for the Olympics. And then eventually over time, I got a bit more of a reporting role. And then one day I just thought, right, next step. So I marched up to the head of news and current affairs in his office. I didn't know him and he did not know me. And I sat down and I said to him, I want to read the news. And he said, oh, do you? You and sort of 300 others. And I was like, no, but I can do it. I know I can do it. You need to let me do it. And so he eventually agreed to let me go onto the midday news back then. It was the worst experience of my life. I am not going to lie. My heart was coming out my mouth. I taught this big game and I had zero clue what I was doing. And I'm sure if I could look back on it now, I would cringe because it will be awful. But, I was just so determined. And I guess, I don't know, I would encourage every one of you out there that if there's something that you desperately want to do, don't worry about failing. Just go and do it, because what's the worst that can happen? I'll tell you, on live TV, it can be pretty bad when things go pear-shaped. So it's not going to be worse than that. And the worst that people can do is say no, So that was sort of the start of it all. And I guess I then moved to Sky and I started on sports news, and it just sort of went from there. But I learned really quickly also about taking public criticism and working to deadlines, which I guess we will talk a little bit about with your industry, business events industry, because it's really relevant. But it certainly taught me that preparation, builds confidence. And if you work really hard and you're confident, you will succeed. And Then when I was 37, I met my now husband, Scott Styris. I don't know if any of you are cricket fans, but he played cricket for New Zealand for over a decade. And when we met, I realised at that point that if our relationship was going to work, then I had to probably take a bit of a backward step in my own career and sort of support him, because he was travelling around the world with the Black Caps, and that, me being a sports buff, that sounded quite fun anyway. So we did that, and I sort of took a little bit of a back seat for a while, but I always just kept my hand in and made sure that I was keeping up with technology and that type of thing, so that when I did go back, I would be able to step into a role without becoming unemployable, because it is quite scary. And I guess if you've been a mum or are a mum, you know that if you step away from work for too long and get, and be the mum that you want to be, going back to work can often be quite daunting, because things change and you lose your confidence a little bit, so again, my advice is either to keep your hand in, or just know that, and have faith in yourself, to believe in yourself that you can do what you've always done. So I guess that sort of brings us to today. And I'm at that sort of, as I said earlier, kind of reinvention stage of life, because I think that's where the wisdom comes in. You learn how to say no. You learn that recovery is a really important part of life. When you're young, you go, go, go. As you get older, it gets a little bit harder. And the changes that you go through, sorry men out there, the menopause changes, and just your body changing and how you deal with that, and particularly if you're a career person, and how that affects your career. So I think the moral to all of this, for me, is that you have to understand every age and stage of your life. It's a building block. And I guess when we're young, it's really easy to fixate on the big goal, the dream job, the big title, the end result. But I think it's really important to remember to celebrate the small goals, the unglamorous ones, the things that you probably don't think are that important at the time, but they really are, and don't rush them. So I think that's probably a good place, because I feel like all I've done is jabber. Before we move to your industry, or our industry, the events industry, is there anybody who's got any questions or comments about anything that I've said so far? Please say
Nicky,
yes.
I will just let you know there is a good question in the chat, actually, from Amelia, and you've covered a bit of it, but she's just asking, all the things you wanted to achieve within your career, how did you balance being a mum and being so driven with your career?
I'm still balancing that one, Amelia. Yeah, look, I'm not going to lie, it's really hard. It's hard, because you can't be everything to everyone, and it takes a little bit of you. I think being organized is really important. Time management, knowing that there's certain times of the day that you want to give to your kids, and that's not negotiable. It might be early in the morning, it might be before bed, reading books and things like that, but also knowing that you can compartmentalize that, and you can walk into your office and you're on for what you're doing. And I think having drive enables you to do all of those things, because drive is not just your work. Drive is your life. How do I drive making sure I've got meals for the rest of the week? How do I drive the fact that the house is a mess? Those things don't go away. They're still there. So it is a juggle, and I think you have to do what works for you. But I just found being organized, writing things down, and just really, putting them all into their little compartments and making sure I gave to all of them as best I could, then you will get through it. And talk to your friends, because you've got to have a lot of friends out there that are going through the same thing, and they might have some good tips and tricks. And if they don't, they'll give you a glass of wine, and you can sit there and cry into it and laugh. I mean, there's lots of ways of dealing with things, if you like.
Nobody's
Can I answer
perfect.
the question?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Relating to the events industry, I guess I honestly believe that my role in broadcasting or my career is not really that different to yours in the business events industry. And I don't think it really matters where you are, whether you're in the beginning of your career and you're saying yes to everything and trying to prove yourself, or whether you're in the middle of your career, in your 30s, 40s, you're leading teams, you're delivering outcomes, and you're also trying to manage your life outside of work, like Amelia, we were just talking about then. Or if you're experienced and you're thinking about sustainability and longevity, I think the important thing is that it is a high performance industry. You do have tight deadlines. You do have, dare I say it, demanding clients, and you are constantly adapting. And you work some pretty unsociable hours. I know, because I used to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning for the AM show. It's horrendous. And you will have those where you will probably have days on end where you're not getting a lot of sleep. So I want you to have a think about the last event that you delivered, or whether it was a conference or a night thing, or I don't know, it could have been anything. How many hours of sleep did you actually get the night before, or leading up to it, or during? Like, did you actually sit down and eat lunch, or was that at 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon? How often do you finish an event and go straight into the next event without a recovery window and think, oh, I've got to move on to the next event now? I mean, it's they're questions that you should be asking yourself, because that is where the balance comes in, and you need to be assessing it all the time. It's not about whether you're capable enough, it's about your capacity. And in this industry, you will burn out, and that's not good for anybody, least of all you and your family. So I just want you to take a minute, and I'm going to ask you to privately score yourself out of 5 for each of these things. You don't need to share it unless you want to. Out of 5, 5 being excellent, 1 being, or 0 being terrible, how is your energy? How is your sleep? How is your movement? How is your nutrition? And how is your stress? So energy, sleep, movement, nutrition, stress. And I want you to look and add those up. And now I want this, because this is all part of the awareness of your first building block of resilience, all right? You should have a total of at least 15 or over.
I only just made it.
Does anyone want to share their result?
I only just made it, Nicky.
Well, at least you did make it. What was your worst one, Nicky?
Some of them tied my sleep, and my stress sometimes.
Yeah, especially in that industry, there is a lot of stress.
Yeah,
at different times, right?
Definitely.
If you've got over 15, then hey, you've probably got some pretty good self-awareness, and you're on the right track. If you're considerably lower than that, I think that you probably need to start thinking about some of these little tips and tricks.
I'm referring to Jasmine in our team here, Nicky, who is one of our young new team members, and I'm getting her to do it to see if she has well over 15, which you'd hope at her young age.
Does she?
What do you think? What do you think, Lisa?
Well, I was going to say, Nicky, I think that's a great thing to bring into we meet every Monday morning as a team, and I'm sure, most people on this call have their team meetings. That's an amazing way to start. Just kind of checking in, if people want to share, just checking in where everyone's sort of feeling and sitting before we kick off the rest of the week. Because I can tell you, I unfortunately didn't come close on those.
That does not surprise me one little bit, Lisa, to be honest. Yeah, and I think the other thing to remember is you don't know what's going on in your colleagues' lives. Like, we all go through stressful times at different times, and checking in is a really good way. Like, people say, oh, hi, how are you? How was your weekend? That is not checking in, because most people will just say, fine. They won't actually tell you. So, maybe that is something that you can do in your office, and just to check in on it. And if you see somebody that's really low in that count, then, help them out. and see if there's something that you can do that just might help them relieve some of that. All right, we're going to we're just going to run through some slides, and then if there's anything on any slide that you want clarification on or want to discuss, please put it in the chat.
Yeah,
Sing out. Otherwise, we can have a chat about them at the end. There's not heaps of them, and then we'll open it up to any questions if anybody wants to have a talk. Okay, these are the things that I've used in my life and still do use, and particularly because I'm big on exercise. The first one is the 10-minute rule. Now, a lot of us will sit there and go, I don't have time to go to the gym. I don't have time to go for a run. I don't have enough hours in the day to do any sort of exercise. And so the next day comes and you don't have time. It's not, you get to the week and you go, oh, okay, well, maybe I'll go to the gym. This is what I'd like you to do. Don't wait for an hour. If you're sitting in the office and, I don't know, you need to make a phone call, or, I don't know, you need lunch or whatever, go for a walk around the block. Make that phone call while you're walking. Don't use the elevator. Use the stairs. When I was at News Hub, people probably thought I was just a tad nuts, but I would run up and down the stairs about 10 times during the day, because it's exercise. It's good for your brain. It's mobility, flow. It's like I used to sit at my desk and I would do just little arm exercises, like arm circulation movements and moving my ankles around. And no, I did not go into the downward dog. I can assure you all of that. But yeah, just moving your body is really, really important. And the other thing that I used to do was body weight circuits. You can use a wall like the one behind me. You can literally stand there and just dip your body down and lean against it as if you're sitting on a pretend chair, and just sit there and see how long you can sit there for. And, do it every day. And then you'll find before long, you'll be sitting there for a good couple of minutes. And that's a win. That's good quads, but right there. Or you could do some tricep dips on your couch at home while you're watching TV, or at work with your chair. Just sit there and say, right, I'm going to do my 10, 20 tricep dips, and I'm going to do it every day. And I'm going to do it every day this week. And then I might have a day off, and then I'm going to keep doing it. And before you know, you get good arms, really good arms, But it's not just about the physical, obviously. It's about the mental, the benefits of what it does for your brain. So that's slide number 1, the 10-minute rule. And you only need 10 minutes to do it. So there's no excuses. Does anybody have any questions about that, or any suggestions of what they do to, move? Nope. Okay. Slide number 2. It's really important, I think, that you make things not negotiable. So if you were going to book a client in for a meeting, book yourself in to do what you need to do. So you calendar it. You calendar your not negotiables, like whether I like it or not, I am at 5:30 today, I am going to walk around the block or go for a run, or I am going to go to the gym, or I'm going to catch up with a friend. I'm going to go walking with a friend. I'm going to go for a swim, whatever it is. I'm going to do a walk and talk meeting. I used to do that a lot with our news meetings, because we'd always have a news meeting in the morning to work out what our news bulletin looked like for the day. And I was always caught outside doing it, going around the block in the sunshine, getting my vitamin D, getting my mental health and where it needs to be, but also working. So I think that's really good. Great idea. We've got a great idea. What's the great idea? Lisa?
It was Charmaine said she was at the printer this morning doing squats while she was waiting for a printout. Fantastic.
I love that.
I love it. Yeah, it's brilliant.
Yep, perfect. People may want to, book you into some psych ward when they see you doing it. But once you assure them that this is actually good for you, they might start doing it too. I love that. Yep. And you can do that, anywhere. That's the thing. Do it in the kitchen while you're cooking dinner. Stand on one leg. Nice one, Charmaine. Yeah, I guess the point of this is that you never miss a client briefing. So why would you not give your health that same priority? So, you know, that's another thing for you to think about. Right, steps. I don't know if any of you have got these, wearables, but they really actually are a secret weapon. NEAT. Now, I don't know if you've heard of NEAT. NEAT is your non-exercise activity. And it's actually really important. It's great for weight loss, if that's a goal of yours. And the reason I say that is because if you are constantly moving, your body is constantly burning. And if it's burning, then, that's good for you because that's what humans are supposed to do. All right. So 7 to 10,000 steps a day equals energy and fat loss. Now, most of you will do 5,000 probably without really thinking about it. But that next step, you might have to, put that into the calendar. But again, go for your walks at lunchtime or your meetings, and I'm sure your bosses will be thrilled to see you out moving. Park further away, take the stairs over the lift, like I said before. They are really, really important, not negotiables, is your steps. So keep stepping. Right, slide number 4. And this was one of my favorite ones, and there's been a lot of hype around protein. I'm sure you've all seen and heard about it. Muscle is your long-term health insurance. When I was young, it was about being skinny. Everybody wanted to be skinny. Now it's people want to be athletic and muscular, and because that is so much. God, I'm even tripping over my own words. It's way, way more healthy for you and your longevity, especially as you age, anything 40 plus. Now, you as a guy should be potentially having 1 to 1.2 grams of protein per kilogram of your body weight. So for me, that's probably, 120 grams of protein per day. That's quite a lot. So you actually have to concentrate on eating it. So find, ones that you particularly like. You should be having protein in every meal and every snack if you can. There is one caveat to this. People think if I eat protein, I'm going to just, grow these wonderful muscles. Well, it doesn't quite work like that. You actually have to do some form of resistance training. And without sounding like a gym junkie, resistance training is so important for your long-term health. It protects not only your muscles, but your bones and your cognitive health. So if you can start some form of resistance training, and it can be like, I think it was Charmaine's squats. It can be those tricep dips. It can be getting down doing half press-ups. Anything that actually is some sort of resistance. It can be body, it can be weights. But it's really not negotiable. You really need to start doing it. So if you don't want osteoporosis as you get older, it's a really good idea.
Nikki,
yes.
I was just going to say, it's amazing, isn't it, when you go to the supermarket nowadays, how much food is now advertising that they have got enhanced protein in them. I mean, you buy protein milk, you buy the protein enhanced wraps, there's so much more protein, and it seems like this whole movement around having more protein in your diet is really kicking off and becoming so much more visible.
There's been a lot of research done around protein. I think that's why. I mean, protein is the amino acids are the building blocks of all of your body. They are the muscles, and they are also part of your repair and recovery. So we now know that if you keep that protein up, you are not only going to have a higher energy, because muscles require energy to burn. All right. So the more muscle you've got, the better your body will be in its burning capacity. It is stopping sarcopenia, which is when your muscles shrink down. So if you eat the protein, it maintains your muscle mass, and it reduces osteoporosis. And those are just a couple of the things that protein is good for. I'm not going to get into the sort of the medical side of things because I'm not qualified to do so, but my advice to you. Oh, just be careful. As Lisa said, there is a lot of marketing out there around protein now. So just be careful when you do pick up something out of the supermarket and it says it's protein enhanced. Always check the label on the back and check for higher sugar content and how much protein there actually is. You want at least 6 grams of protein in something if it's going to have any benefit and do what it says it's doing. So just a few little tricks there to watch out for. All right, the emergency snack strategy. And I think this is a really good one for you guys, because if you're on site, you're at an event, and you know this is going to go on for, I don't know, a week or whatever, don't leave the house without a protein snack in your bag. Greek yogurt is amazing for you. Really, really, really good for you. Eggs. I know not everyone will appreciate you pulling out a boiled egg because it might smell a little bit, but boy, they are just food. I probably eat 2 to 3 eggs a day. Protein shakes. If you're into shakes, definitely the way to go. You can buy some that are really good, or you can make it and bring it. I'm not a big protein shake fan, but because I'm not really a sweet tooth, so I prefer to go for the savory snacks, but it's a really good option. Nuts and fruits. Nuts cannot be understated as well. They are so good for you, especially with their omega-3s, omega-6s, polyphenols. If you can just, a little handful though. Don't go nuts on them, no pun intended, because they are high in calories. So it is easy to pile through a whole packet of cashew nuts. So just go easy on them, but they are really, really good for you and good snack. What I'll often do is I'll make a salad, and I will put things like hemp seeds, sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, sprinkle it over the top of your salads. That's a really, really good way of getting extra protein into food without too many calories. And make sure you put some sort of, if you're not a meat eater, some sort of protein in there, whether it's tofu, beans, chicken, lean meat, whatever. Tin sardines. Very underrated. Don't know if you like them. I love them. Tuna, little things of tuna, salmon, great omega-3s. Take those to work. And chia seeds. Make a little chia seed pudding the night before. Put it in the fridge. Throw some frozen berries on the top. Take that for your snack the next day. Really good for you. What we do here in this house is, my husband's not here, which is good because he's really naughty. And I'm always on his case. He hates me. He said, well, there's no food in this house to eat. In other words, something he can grab. So what I do now is I cook up chicken breasts, and I put them in the fridge, and I say to him, there's food in the fridge. If you want something, eat half a chicken breast. And so now he does that, and instead of eating a bag of potato chips, well, that's actually not entirely true, because he probably eat potato chips too. He's a work in progress. But anyway, so that's definitely an option for you. So it'll stop your blood sugar crashing, and that's really important, because you guys are making decisions on the go every day with demanding clients. You want to be at your best. So that's the emergency snack strategy. The next one probably goes without saying, hydration. Most of you are probably quite good with this, and this is really good for stress management. Did you know that if you have any sort of mild dehydration, it will increase your brain fog and your fatigue significantly? So most people do it these days, but walk around with a water bottle. Make sure that you try to get as much as you can. I sometimes think 2 liters is too much, but coffee's great. Coffee's really good for you, but it's also a diuretic, and it can dehydrate you. So make sure that you have the water bottle. Slide 7, sleep. Now that's an absolute huge one, because without sleep you don't perform. And as I said to you before, when I was at the AM show, the alarm would go off at 3:10, and I still have PTSD around it. But you'd get up, you'd go, and then you'd get home in the morning and you think, oh God, I haven't done any of the housework, and I've got to sort dinner, and you're still on a little bit of a high. So I would never have a nap, and then I would get to like 5 o'clock that night and you couldn't talk to me. I was a right biatch, and I was so tired, and your body just does not function. And one of the things I've discovered in my own personal research about sleep, apart from, working with your circadian rhythms and your cortisol levels, is that when you're asleep, you have a thing called your glymphatic system. And what that does, it removes all the metabolic waste that is built up in your brain for the day. And they have now found that Alzheimer's associated proteins actually build up in the brain, and that if you don't get enough sleep, your glymphatic system does not drain those proteins out. So your brain needs rest. So please, please make that a priority, and at least, well, ideally if you can get 8 hours, but at least 6 would be really good. Number 8, and we're almost at the end, so I hope this hasn't been too draining for you all. Your weekly not negotiable. You need to have one thing that you might say, right, I am going to do that no matter what. For me, it's running. That's my happy place. So Sunday morning, I go out running. It doesn't matter whether it's rain, hail, shine, I'm going. And if someone tries to disrupt that, then I don't allow that to happen. It is so, do something that fills your cup. Some of you, that might be doing yoga. Some of you, it might be you go and read a book. Whatever it is, you need to have something that resets you and just, puts everything back in life perspective. Go smell the roses, as they say. But the key, I guess, all of this that I have gone through is that you want to just create some healthy habits, and they need to become habits. But if you make them small enough and achievable enough, then they do become part of your life and you're part of your not negotiables. And like all the building blocks of your life, if you do these with your health habits, you will see amazing progress. You will see it physically in your body, and you will feel it mentally in your brain. So I'm going to sort of, before we finish this up and talk, if anybody's got any questions, I'd like you to take a goal, and I want you to pick one focus between, say, now and meetings or something like that. And I want you to think, do I want to do a move goal, a nourish goal, or a reset goal? Or you can do all three if you want to, but pick one thing that will really help you and your lifestyle. So a move goal, it might be, I'm going to walk the stairs in my office between now and June every day. Your nourish goal might be, I'm going to make sure that I always have snacks available when I go to work. I'm not going to buy them. I'm not going to go down and get that, dare I say it, ginger crunch, because we all love the ginger crunch. Don't we, Lisa?
Oh, I can't believe you brought the ginger crunch up.
Only when Nicky makes it. Our Nicky makes it. She does great ginger crunch.
Yeah, I have to be honest. I went to have a meeting with these guys last week and went into BEIA offices, and it was my first time in there. And lo and behold, there was a whole pile of ginger crunch on them. And I was like, ladies, Chris, you guys aren't eating that, are you? And then he was like,
everything in moderation, I guess.
Yes, correct. Everything in moderation.
Yeah.
Of course you can. So pick a goal and make it 10 minutes. That's all it needs to be. And then if you see me round, or if you want to message me on Instagram or whatever, and let me know how you're going with that goal, because if you just pick one goal and you achieve it, then you can pick the next goal and you can just keep layering them. And before you know it, you'll be a machine.
Absolutely.
That really, I think that's it from me, really. Does anybody want to ask anything, or I can help in any way?
We can all be a machine like you, Nicky.
Don't know about the machine.
Nicky, I've got a question for you. I think one of the biggest challenges that for many of us, and you alluded to the fact that we have some pretty unsociable hours, that whole ability to come in from an event and get your brain reset into going to sleep. I'll put my hand up. I rated myself a 0 on the sleep thing. That is my reset. Thank you for the reminder. I'm going to work on that. But what's your advice around how do you sort of get that switch off so that you can kind of leave what's gone on today. You can stop thinking about what you need to do tomorrow and just re-energize and get your body back in check?
Look, I think, Lisa, it's a real personal thing because I think we all relax in different ways. And it's finding what your relaxing thing is. Now, this is gonna sound so bad, but I love a glass of wine. I mean, that's probably my Achilles heel. Now, I'm not encouraging people to take up alcohol as a means of winding down, but if I'm had a tough day, I'll come in, I'll sit down, I'll cook dinner, I'll have a glass of wine, I'll eat dinner, and it just makes me go, ugh. And then I can kind of from there just slowly unwind with either something on TV or a book that I'm reading or just chatting or whatever. But I think it's important that you work out what your unwind looks like, because we are also, some people just like to move and go for a walk. Other people just want to lock themselves in a dark room and do it that way. I think it's really good to have a strong bedtime routine. Try to, I mean, there's so much research now around devices. Try to not be doom scrolling at bedtime and things like that, because they are not going to help you wind down. They're just going to keep you wound up. I don't know. I love a good show on TV and a good laugh. I think those things work for me. So I don't know. Some of you out there might have something that
There's a couple of comments that have actually come in.
Oh yeah.
One's a question, but first of all, yeah, Ange and Tauranga has said she's let the busier and more stressed she is, the more important it is to go out for a walk, even if it's just around the block. Resets
Absolutely.
the brain and helps focus again, which is
Yep.
true.
Yep.
And we've got a question as well from Amelia. Within our industry, it's high stress and fast paced. What would you suggest to do to create healthy expectations within the team around our work hours, when to switch off, to leave till what to leave to the next morning, etc.?
Look, again, that's personal on the actual company. I think that comes from the top. And I think that, what Lisa was saying earlier, there needs to be like a check-in, a check-out, and it has to be a directive from the top so that everybody feels comfortable putting their health priorities first. And if it means, you have a day where everybody must leave the office by a certain time, or you have, I mean, I know the work from home routine is not so popular since you got rid of COVID, but it might be that you have the ability and a good relationship with the people that are running your company to say, I need to step away for half a day, or I need to go and do this, or I need to go home at this time, or I'm not going to be checking my emails. Then that's really important that it does come from within that company. And so maybe that's something you want to discuss with your group, with your events people, and see what priorities you all have, because again, they'll be different. Does that sort of answer it?
I think, Nicky, you sort of touched on it before. It's about giving yourself permission.
Absolutely.
And that's really the most crucial thing. And sometimes I feel that in this industry, because it is a service-orientated industry, we are so focused on delivering the best possible result for our customer. We always forget and put ourselves right at the very bottom of the pile. So I think what you've been talking about today is about reminding all of us to give ourselves permission to say, hey, we're human too. We suffer from stress and tiredness and too much coffee and not enough water and all of that sort of stuff. And it is okay. It is absolutely okay.
Yeah, be kind to yourself. Yeah. And remember, you're no good to anybody else if you're stressed and tired, You're no good to them. You're no good to your family. You're no good to your work colleagues or your bosses, or if you're the boss, you're no good to your workers. So, it is absolutely give yourself permission and prioritize your health. That should be your focus. Everything else will not fall into place, but, will work so much more efficiently for you. So you're so right, Lisa. Thank you.
Great. Well, just conscious of time for everybody. We're pretty much at the top of the hour. So I think it's probably a good spot to wrap up. So cannot thank you enough, Nikki. Some fabulous tips and tricks in there for everyone. And I just think it's wonderful to hear your story as well. So thank you for sharing that.
Well, thank you for having me. I hope it wasn't, I hope
very
it wasn't boring for you all.
Not
and you
at
did
all.
get something out of it. Do feel free to contact me if you want any help with exercise or nutrition or anything. I am more than happy.
Well, I'm sure we'll be seeing you at our various events throughout the year. So,
hope so.
Again, we just can't thank you enough for being online with us and sharing. And we're getting some lovely comments through the chat too. Everyone's very appreciative.
Great. Thank you.
So wonderful. Thank you so much. And unless you've got anything else, Lisa, we will say farewell for now and go off and enjoy your International Women's Day weekend, everyone. And we shall catch you all soon.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Thanks.
Thank you.